Hello, this is Mindy from The Weekend Gardener, and today I'd like to discuss a part 2 on a video that I made prior on The Weekend Gardener. I taught you how to create your own worm bin so you could harvest worm composting or worm castings. This part of the video will show you exactly how to harvest your worm poo. But the first part that you need to consider is whether your worm poo is ready to harvest or not. Worm poo that is ready for the garden or your house plants will actually look like soil. It won't have any plant material left in it, and it won't have any bedding material left in it. A couple of weeks prior to when you would like to harvest your worm castings, what you will actually need to do is stop feeding the worms. And this will give the worms an opportunity to go ahead and consume the remaining bedding and plant material that is still in their bin. After you have noticed that all this material is gone, you can harvest. But there is a question: how do you harvest without harvesting your worms? There are two solutions to this problem. One solution is you can simply shine a flashlight in one side of the bin. Worms don't like any type of light source, whether it's from the sun, whether it's from an indoor light, and they will actually move away from the light source. So where the light is shining, you can go ahead and harvest, and you won't be harvesting your worms. Another approach is to give them one of their favorite foods, which is some type of lettuce material, and this is actually romaine ends. You put that food in one end of your bin. You give them a few days because they will actually migrate to that food source. And then you can harvest the other side of the bin without fear of picking up any of your worms. Now, the other thing that you need to keep in mind, and we discussed this somewhat when we made the video on how to make the worm bin, is actually the eggs. I'm trying to isolate an egg. This little golden sphere right here is actually an egg of the red wiggler worm. Now, there's really no try-true method of saving these eggs. You can pick through the best you can as you harvest your worm poo prior to putting it in your house plants or in your garden space. But worms are prolific breeders, and so you will have additional worms in no time at all. So I'm actually just going to get started. I've already put some food out for my worms on this end, and I'm actually just going to fumble through here and harvest some worm fertilizer. Now, you can use this worm fertilizer any time of the year. It doesn't smell. It can be used indoors, outdoors. Once you have harvested everything that you want out of your bin, excluding as many eggs as you can save and your worms, you will need to replenish the bin with bedding. And if you recall in our other video, the bedding was newspaper, corrugated cardboard. The trick to doing this, though, is you must let your water sit out 24 hours so that chlorine and other impurities can evaporate out of that water. When that happens, you put your newspaper and corrugated cardboard, junk mail as an example, in there. Let it soak for about 30 minutes, and then you can remove it, squeeze it, and put it back in your bin. Now, it is very important to use corrugated cardboard. If you use cardboard that's not corrugated, it really doesn't serve the purpose that it needs to serve, because those worms really like to hide in those little pieces of corrugated cardboard. So just keep that in mind. So until we meet on the garden path again, this has been Mindy from The Weekend Gardener.